He does not tell her that the salt in the air is a different kind of salt in the morning. He does not tell her that this small plot of land, this weathered boathouse bleeding creosote into the sand, is the only thing his father left him. He does not say that it is the only thing he has to leave his own daughter. He just stands there, his hands loose at his sides, and watches her step out of the black car. Stay with me to the end. Subscribe. Drop the words "stay" in the comments. The car is silent, electric, and its tires make no sound on the crushed shell driveway. It is an alien presence against the backdrop of peeling paint and the rhythmic slap of water against old pilings. A man gets out of the passenger side first. He is wearing a suit that costs more than Elias's truck. The man is Marcus Thorne. Elias knows him. He has known him for a very long time. Then she emerges. Alistair Finch. She is her father's daughter. The same sharp line of her jaw, the same intensity in her eyes, which are the color of the ocean just before a storm. But her father wore his power like a comfortable old coat. She wears hers like armor. It is new and sharp at the edges. She takes in the scene. The boathouse, the cluttered docks, the half-restored hull of a Grand Banks trawler sitting in its cradle. Her gaze is an appraisal, an inventory. It is the look of a person calculating loss, not value. Elias wipes his hands on a rag already stiff with grease and solvent. The motion is slow, deliberate. He does not hide the stains on his fingers. They are a map of his days, a testament to his work. Lily, his daughter, peeks out from behind his leg. She is 6 years old and holds a small, carved wooden gull in one hand. Her eyes are wide. Marcus Thorne steps forward, a leather portfolio tucked under his arm. His smile does not reach his eyes. It never does. Elias, good to see you're still here. The pause is intentional, weighted. It turns the word "here" into an accusation. Elias says nothing. He simply watches Alistair Finch. She is the one who matters. "Mr. Vance," she begins, her voice crisp and devoid of warmth. It is a boardroom voice, not a shoreline voice. "I am Alistair Finch. As the new CEO of Finch Maritime Dynamics, I am overseeing a complete audit of all company assets." She gestures vaguely at the boathouse, the docks, the sliver of land it all occupies. "This property, Asset 17, has been flagged for liquidation. It is underperforming. In fact, it generates no revenue at all." Marcus adds, his tone smooth with false sympathy. "Your father was sentimental, Alistair. He allowed certain arrangements to persist long past their expiration date. It's our job now to make the company lean, efficient. The word sentimental is a dismissal. The word efficient is a threat." Elias feels Lily's small hand tighten on the back of his jeans. He rests his own hand on her head, a silent reassurance. He still does not speak. He waits. He lets their words hang in the air, lets the salt and the sun bake them into the wood around them. Alistair looks from Elias to the child, and for a fraction of a second, something flickers in her expression. It is not pity. It is closer to annoyance, as if this human detail complicates a simple transaction. "The property is being sold," she says, her voice hardening again. "The sale is already being finalized. You have 30 days to vacate the premises." 30 days. The words are sterile, administrative. They bear no relation to a life, to a home. They are the clean, sharp stroke of an axe. Several of the other marina workers have stopped what they are doing. They are watching from a distance, pretending to check lines or coil ropes. They are witnesses to this quiet, brutal eviction. The shame is meant to be part of the process, a tool for compliance. Elias looks directly at Alistair Finch. His gaze is not defiant. It is not angry. It is steady. He holds it for a long count, for 5 full seconds. He is seeing her, really seeing her, and he wonders if she is seeing him at all, or just an obstacle, a line item on a spreadsheet. He does not tell her that his wife is buried on the hill just behind the tree line, a spot overlooking this very water. He does not tell her that he and Lily visit the small, unmarked stone every single evening. He does not tell her that the Grand Banks trawler was a project he started with her own father, a promise between 2 old friends. He does not defend himself. He does not argue. He does not plead his case. He gives a single, slow nod. That is all. The nod unnerves her. Alistair Finch is accustomed to reactions. She is prepared for anger, for bargaining, for tears. She has strategies for all of them. She has no strategy for quiet acceptance. It feels like a rejection of her power, as if her decision is of so little consequence to him that it requires no response. It is infuriating. Marcus Thorne, however, seems pleased. He sees the nod as submission. "Excellent. We'll have the formal paperwork sent over," he says, already turning back toward the car. Alistair lingers for a moment. She looks at the little girl who is now hiding her face completely. She looks at the man's grease-stained hands. She looks at the impossibly blue water behind him. Something feels wrong. The equation does not balance, but the numbers on the page are clear. The asset is a liability. The decision is sound. 30 days, Mr. Vance, she repeats, as if to convince herself. She turns and walks back to the silent car, the crunch of shells under her expensive heels the only sound. Elias watches them go. He waits until the black car has disappeared down the narrow lane. He waits for 1 minute more, listening to the gulls and the tide. Then he crouches down. "It's okay, Lilybug," he says softly. He gently takes the wooden bird from her hand and smooths a thumb over its wing. "It's okay." She looks up at him, her eyes mirroring the stormy grey of the CEO's. "Is that Lady the Queen?" Elias almost smiles. "Something like that," he says. "Come on, let's get back to work." He does not go back to work. He stands and looks at the workshop, his home, and for the first time, he sees it through her eyes. Old, unprofitable, useless. The drive back to the city is quiet. The smooth hum of the car does nothing to soothe the disquiet in Alistair's mind. She replays the scene, the man's silence. It sits in the space between her and Marcus like a third passenger. "He took that well," Marcus says, finally breaking the tension. He sounds satisfied. "I expected a fight. Arthur coddled him, you know. Let him live there for practically nothing." "What does he do, exactly?" Alistair asks, staring out the window at the blur of green turning to grey. "Tinkers," Marcus scoffs. "He's a mechanic of a sort. Works on those old wooden dinosaurs nobody but your father cared about. A dying art. More of a hobbyist than a professional. The workshop is a relic, just like him." A relic. The word echoes her own assessment, yet hearing it from Marcus makes it sound cheap. Her father had loved relics. He believed they had souls, that they held stories. He used to say, "Anything new is just a temporary solution. Anything old has proven it can last." She had always considered it a quaint, unprofitable philosophy. Now she is not so sure. The man's eyes. They were not the eyes of a hobbyist. They were the eyes of a craftsman, calm, focused, and deeply knowing. They were the eyes of someone who understood things she did not. "The sale will be a significant boost to our third-quarter profits," Marcus continues, tapping on a tablet. "A clean write-off and a tidy injection of capital. It's a smart move, your first big one." He is praising her. He is affirming her decision. So why does it feel like she has been complicit in a crime? She spends the rest of the day in meetings, budgets, logistics, supply chain projections, the language of her world. It is precise, logical, and cold. It is a world of numbers that are supposed to add up to success. But the image of the little girl with the wooden bird keeps intruding, a variable she cannot quantify. 2 weeks later, the storm hits. It is not forecast. It comes in fast and hard from the northeast, churning the calm bay into a grey fury. Alistair is in her penthouse office on the 30th floor, watching the rain lash against the glass. Her phone buzzes. It is the harbour master from the marina. "Miss Finch, we have a problem. Your vessel, the Alistair, has broken her primary mooring. The bilge pumps are failing to keep up with the water she's taking on. We can't get a crew out to her in this sea." Panic, cold and sharp, cuts through her professional calm. The Alistair is not just a yacht. It is a 1962 custom-built cruiser. It was her father's sanctuary. It is the last piece of him she has left. "What about the engine?" she asks, her voice tight. "Won't turn over, miss. She's dead in the water and drifting toward the rocks." She hangs up, her mind racing. All her resources, her connections, her money, they are useless against the wind and the waves. She feels a profound and terrifying helplessness. Down at the marina, the world is chaos. Wind screams through the rigging of the moored boats. Rain comes down in blinding sheets. Elias Vance watches the cruiser, her father's boat, bucking in the violent chop. He sees the port side listing, sees her drifting inexorably toward the granite breakwater. He does not hesitate. He pulls on his foul weather gear. He says a single word to Lily, who is watching from the workshop window with wide, frightened eyes. "Stay." He launches his small, sturdy dinghy, the one with the reliable 10 horsepower outboard. It is a foolish, dangerous thing to do. The harbour master shouts at him from the relative safety of the pier, his words lost in the gale. Elias ignores him. The ride out is a brutal fight. The dinghy climbs up the face of one wave and slams down into the trough of the next. Salt spray feels like needles on his face. He keeps his focus on the struggling yacht, his movements economical and sure. He reaches her, maneuvering the small craft skillfully alongside the much larger vessel. He secures a line and, with a strength born of years of physical labor, hauls himself over the gunwale. The deck is slick with rain and pitching violently. He has to move on his hands and knees to the engine compartment. He lifts the hatch. The engine is a classic, a beautiful piece of machinery that her father had loved. Elias knows it well. He had helped Arthur Finch rebuild it himself 5 years ago. Water sloshes around the compartment, and the air is thick with the smell of ozone and diesel. He does not have his tools. He has only his hands and his knowledge. He runs his fingers over the fuel lines, the ignition wires, the injectors. He feels for the vibration, for the subtle misalignment, for the story the machine is trying to tell him. His hands are calm. His mind is clear. He finds it, a loose connection on the primary fuel pump, jostled by the storm. A simple thing, an easy thing to overlook. He wedges it back into place, using the handle of a winch as a makeshift mallet to seat it firmly. He checks the seacock, sees it is clogged with debris. He clears it with his bare hands. He climbs to the helm, turns the key. The engine sputters once, twice, then catches with a deep, reassuring roar. It is a sound of life, a heartbeat against the storm's rage. He spends the next hour at the helm, fighting the sea, nursing the boat away from the rocks and back toward a secure mooring. By the time Alistair arrives, sirens wailing in the distance, the worst is over. The storm is already starting to break. She finds him on the dock, soaked to the bone, coiling the lines he used to secure her father's boat. The engine hums steadily. The yacht is safe. She stands before him, the CEO armor stripped away by fear and relief. She has 1,000 questions. How did you do it? Why did you do it? She asks none of them. Thank you, she says. The words feel small, inadequate. Elias just nods, same as before. He does not say, "You're welcome." He does not say, "This is the boat I was supposed to finish restoring with your father." He does not say, "You are trying to throw me out of the home where I keep the memories of your father alive." He just finishes coiling the rope and turns to go back to his workshop, back to his daughter. Later that evening, the sky is clear, washed clean by the storm. Alistair walks the docks, assessing the damage. She sees a small figure sitting at the end of a pier, dangling her feet over the water. It is Lily. Alistair approaches slowly, not wanting to frighten her. The girl is holding her carved gull. "Hello," Alistair says softly. Lily looks up at her, unafraid. "You're the Queen," she states simply. Alistair allows a small smile. "I suppose I am." She sits down a careful distance from the child. They watch the water in silence for a moment. "Your boat was sick," Lily says. "Daddy made it better." "Yes, he did," Alistair agrees. "He's very good with boats." Lily nods, a serious expression on her small face. "Daddy says some engines just need a patient hand, not a new part." A patient hand. The phrase lands in Alistair's mind and stays there. It is something her father used to say constantly, about engines, about business, about people. She had dismissed it as another of his sentimental notions. Marcus Thorne's philosophy was about replacing parts, about cutting out what was old and inefficient. A patient hand was not billable. She looks at the boathouse, a warm light glowing in its window. She looks at the calm, steady man who risked his life for a boat belonging to the woman who was taking his home. The equation is more unbalanced than ever. The next morning, Alistair is in the company archives. It is a climate-controlled room in the basement of the corporate tower, filled with grey metal shelves and rows of identical document boxes. She is looking for the file on Asset 17. She finds it. The folder is thin. It contains a deed, tax records, and maintenance requests, most of which have been denied by Marcus Thorne over the past 10 years. There is a memo from him, dated 6 months ago, recommending immediate liquidation. The reasoning is sound, the numbers are clear, but there is nothing about the history of the property, nothing about who lived there before Elias Vance, or how the company came to acquire it. It is as if the land has no past. This feels deliberate, an erasure. She pulls the original corporate charter from 1978. The founders are listed. Arthur Finch, chairman. That is all. Nothing else. She remembers a name her father used to mention, an old boat builder from the Sound. Ben Carter. A man her father trusted implicitly. She finds his number in her father's old, worn address book. Ben Carter's workshop smells of cedar shavings and varnish. It is a cathedral of wooden hulls and sawdust moats, dancing in shafts of sunlight. Ben is old, with hands like worn leather and eyes that have seen a lifetime of tides. He is wary of her. He sees the CEO, not the daughter of his friend. "I need to ask you about my father," she says, getting straight to the point. "And about Elias Vance." Ben stops sanding a piece of mahogany. He squints at her. Arthur was a good man, a complicated man. He believed in things most people have forgotten how to value. "Like Asset 17? She presses. Ben puts down his sandpaper. He walks over to a workbench covered in hand tools. Each one is clean, sharp, and resting in its designated place. "Arthur Finch always said you can judge a person by the state of their tools." he says, his voice a low rumble. "You should see Elias Vance's workshop. It's not a place of business. It's a place of worship." He turns to face her fully. "Your father didn't acquire that boathouse. It was never his to begin with. That land has been in the Vance family for 100 years. The original partnership, it was supposed to protect that." "The original partnership?" Alistair asks. "The company charter only lists my father." Ben gives a sad, knowing smile. "Paper can be made to say whatever a man with enough power wants it to say. Your father, he made a promise. He kept it his own way. Maybe he was waiting for you to be ready to understand it." He picks up a small, intricately carved compass rose from his bench. "Truth isn't always in the official files, Miss Finch. Sometimes it's in the things that are locked away." That night, Alistair goes to her father's study at his empty house. She has not been in this room since he died. It is exactly as he left it. Books on naval architecture, half-finished models of boats, the faint scent of pipe tobacco and old paper. It is a museum of a man she is realizing she never truly knew. She runs her hands along the spines of the books on his shelves. She remembers Ben's words. Locked away. Her eyes scan the room. There is a safe, but she knows the combination. It contains only standard financial documents. Then she sees it. One of the built-in bookshelves doesn't sit quite flush with the wall. She pulls on it. It resists, then swings inward with a soft groan, revealing a small, dark cavity in the wall. Inside sits a heavy steel document box. It is locked. Not with a combination lock, but with an old, unusual keyhole. It is a custom job. Her heart quickens. She knows with a sudden, gut-wrenching certainty that she has seen the key that fits this lock. It was on a ring hanging from a nail on Elias Vance's workbench. A small, strange, custom-machined piece of brass. The drive to the boathouse feels impossibly long. It is late. A single light burns in the workshop. She finds him there, hunched over a complex series of gears. He is repairing an antique marine chronometer. The work is microscopic, precise. He looks up as she enters. He is not surprised to see her. She does not know how to begin. The arrogance of her first visit hangs between them, the desperation of her second. Now, this third visit feels like a surrender. "I need your help," she says. The words are humbled, stripped of authority. He waits. "My father had a box. It's locked. I think you have the key." Elias looks at the chronometer in his hands. He sets it down carefully on a velvet cloth. He walks to the wall where his keys hang. He takes down the ring, isolates the strange brass key, and holds it out to her. He does not ask why she needs it. He does not ask what is in the box. He just gives it to her. She takes it. Her fingers brush his. His skin is calloused and warm. "Thank you," she whispers. She drives back to the house, her knuckles white on the steering wheel. She fits the key into the lock. It turns with a smooth, satisfying click. She lifts the heavy lid. Inside, resting on top of a stack of yellowed papers, is a faded photograph. Two young men, arms slung over each other's shoulders, grinning in front of the half-built frame of the boathouse. One is her father, Arthur Finch, young and full of ambition. The other is a man with the same steady eyes as Elias. His father, Thomas Vance. Beneath the photo is the first document, the original incorporation papers for a company named Finch and Vance Maritime, dated 1978. The partnership is listed as an equal 50-50 split. The second document is a handwritten agreement signed by both men. It outlines that in the event of one partner's death, their shares would not be absorbed or sold, but held in a private trust. It specifies that the Vance boathouse, Asset 17, would be maintained by the company in perpetuity as the family's home and workshop, a living part of the company's heritage. The third document is a letter from her father to her, written a year before he died. My dearest Alistair, if you are reading this, it means you have found your way past the ledgers and the profit margins. It means you have started to look for the heart of things. I have made a mess of it, I know. After Thomas died so young, I let fear guide me. Marcus Thorne convinced me that showing a two-man partnership on the books would make us look small, unstable. So we filed new papers. Just my name. I told myself it was to protect the company, to protect you. I held Tom's shares in trust, as promised, but I kept it quiet. Too quiet. Elias's father was the soul of this company. I was just the salesman. He was the craftsman, the innovator. Elias is his father's son. He has the same patient hands, the same integrity. I made him promise not to show you these papers. I told him you had to earn the right to see them. You had to prove you could see the man before you saw the partner. I hope you have. Forgive me. I should have trusted you more. I should have trusted myself more. The final set of papers is a collection of internal memos and financial transfers, all authorized by Marcus Thorne. They detail a systematic 20-year campaign to bury the Vance Trust, to divert its profits, to devalue Asset 17, and to frame Elias as a charity case, a hanger-on. It is a meticulous record of a long, patient betrayal. Alistair sits on the floor of her father's study, the truth laid out around her. She is not the savvy new CEO making a smart business decision. She is the ignorant, arrogant queen, ordering the destruction of half her own kingdom. She has been a fool, a weapon in Marcus Thorne's hands. She weeps, not for her father, but for her own profound blindness. It is nearly dawn when she returns to the boathouse. The door is unlocked. Elias is asleep in a worn armchair, a book open on his lap. Lily is asleep on a small cot nearby, the wooden gull clutched in her hand. The place is quiet, peaceful. It is a home. She stands there for a long time, just watching them. She holds the papers in her hand. She could wake him, apologize, explain everything. But the words feel hollow. An apology is not enough. She backs out quietly, closing the door behind her. Action. That is the only apology that will matter. She drives not to her penthouse, but to the office. She lets herself in. The building is dark and silent. Using her executive credentials, she accesses the company's central servers. She begins to cross-reference the documents from the box with the digital records. She follows the threads of Marcus's deception, pulling them one by one. The hidden accounts, the falsified maintenance reports for Asset 17, the offshore entities where the profits from the Vance Trust were diverted. It is all there, hidden in plain sight, disguised as complex financial maneuvering. By the time the sun rises, she has everything. A complete, irrefutable map of his treason. Later that morning, she finds Elias on the docks, checking the lines on her father's boat. The air is cool and clean. She walks up to him, holding the box of papers. "I know," she says simply. He stops what he's doing and looks at her. His expression is unreadable. "Why?" she asks, her voice thick with emotion. "Why didn't you say anything? Why did you let me? Why did you endure it?" Elias turns his gaze from her to the water. He watches the tide for a long moment before he speaks. "Your father made me promise," he says, his voice quiet. "He was worried. About the company. About you. He said the world he built had become all about numbers, about predators like Thorne. He said you were smart, but you spoke their language. He was afraid you wouldn't be able to hear the truth if it came from me. He said you had to find it yourself. He didn't want you to trust a piece of paper. He wanted you to learn to trust a man's character. Her character. He had been testing her, and she had failed. Utterly. "I'm sorry," she says. The words are a raw whisper. "Elias, I am so sorry." He finally looks back at her. For the first time, she sees not just stillness in his eyes, but a deep, weary sadness. "He should have trusted you more," Elias says. "It is the kindest possible absolution." Just then, Lily comes running down the dock. She sees the look on Alistair's face, the tears welling in her eyes. She hesitates, then walks over and tugs on Alistair's jacket. "Are you sick?" she asks. Alistair crouches down to the little girl's level. "Yes," she says honestly. "I think I have been." Lily considers this seriously. Then she takes Alistair's hand. "Come on," she says, her voice full of authority. "Daddy makes the best hot cocoa. It fixes everything." She leads Alistair by the hand toward the boathouse. Elias watches them go, a faint, almost imperceptible smile touching his lips. It is the beginning of something. A repair. The alliance is forged over mugs of hot cocoa in the warm, cluttered workshop. It is not a business alliance, not yet. It is something quieter, a shared understanding. The next day, a crisis erupts. A report comes in from their European distributor. The new line of D-Series engines, their flagship product for the next fiscal year, is failing preliminary safety certifications. A catastrophic pressure leak in the primary fuel injector. Marcus Thorne had personally overseen the development and signed off on the final design. An emergency meeting is called. Marcus is smooth, reassuring. "It's a minor software glitch in their testing equipment," he insists. "Our internal data is solid. I say we push back, threaten them with legal action, and force the certification through. A delay would be disastrous for the launch." Alistair listens. A week ago, she would have believed him. She would have admired his aggressive strategy. Now she hears only the lies. She sees the corner cutting, the risk taken for the sake of a deadline. She tables the discussion. That afternoon she goes to the boathouse with the engine schematics. "I have another problem," she says to Elias, "and I don't trust the answers I'm being given." They spend the next 18 hours in the workshop. Alistair has never worked like this before. Not with spreadsheets and projections, but with her hands. Elias walks her through the design. He has her assemble and disassemble a prototype injector. He teaches her to feel the tension of the metal, to listen to the click of the valve seating. He doesn't just show her the engine, he teaches her its language. He finds the flaw in under an hour. It is not software, it is material. The pressure valve housing is made from a composite alloy. The specifications call for grade A tungsten carbide. The alloy is cheaper, lighter, and under sustained high pressure it develops microfractures. It is a time bomb. "He cut a corner," Elias says, holding the small, flawed piece of metal in his palm. "Saved maybe $50 per unit, and risked sinking the whole company." Alistair looks at the schematics. She finds the material change order. It was approved and signed by Marcus Thorne. "I'm calling a full board meeting for tomorrow morning," she says, her voice cold with fury. "I want you to be there." The boardroom is an arena of polished mahogany and hushed power. The board members, old allies of her father, look at her with skepticism. Marcus sits to her right, confident and poised. He believes this meeting is to rubber stamp his aggressive pushback strategy. Alistair begins. She does not raise her voice. She's calm, methodical. "Good morning. I have called this meeting to discuss the future of the company, a future that must be built on the truth of its past." She slides a folder to each board member. In these folders you will find the original incorporation documents for this company. As you will see, it was founded as Finch and Vance Maritime. A murmur runs through the room. Marcus Thorne's face freezes. Through a series of deceptions dating back 20 years, Alistair continues, her eyes locked on Marcus. The 50% stake belonging to the Vance family was hidden, its profits diverted, and its heir, Elias Vance, systematically marginalized by the man my father trusted as his chief operating officer. She lays out the financial evidence, the hidden accounts, the forged reports. The trail is undeniable. The board is silent, stunned. This betrayal, however, is not just historical, she says, her voice gaining strength. It is active. It is happening right now. She projects the D-Series engine schematics onto the large screen. Mr. Thorne has assured us that the failure of this engine in safety trials is a software glitch. This is a lie. She looks toward the back of the room. Elias? Elias Vance steps forward. He is wearing his clean work clothes. He does not look intimidated by the suits or the grand room. He walks to the table and places the small, floored valve housing in the center of the polished wood. It makes a soft, definitive click. He does not say a word. His presence, his quiet integrity, the simple, damning piece of metal in his hand, that is his testimony. Alistair explains the material substitution, the risks, the inevitable catastrophic failure that would result. She presents the change order with Marcus's signature. The case is absolute. The silence in the room is heavy, suffocating. Marcus Thorne tries to speak, to bluster, to deny, but his voice has no conviction. He is looking at Elias, and in Elias's steady, quiet gaze, he sees the end of his long, deceitful game. The vote is unanimous. Marcus Thorne is terminated, effective immediately. Security is called to escort him from the building. The board then votes to formally and publicly reinstate the Vance partnership. The company name will be changed back to Finch and Vance Maritime. Elias Vance, the quiet mechanic, the relic, is now the co-owner of the entire enterprise. His reputation is not just restored, it is forged anew in the fire of the truth. After the meeting, the boardroom empties out. Only Alistair and Elias remain. The air is still buzzing with the aftermath of the confrontation. They walk out together, not speaking, and down the silent elevator. In the cold, cavernous space of the underground parking garage, the silence feels different. It is not tense. It is settled. "Thank you," Alistair says, her voice echoing slightly in the concrete space. "You did what was right," he replies. It is not a compliment. It is a simple statement of fact. The power dynamic between them is gone, erased. They are no longer CEO and tenant. They are partners. "The board has offered you your father's old office," she says. "Next to mine." Elias shakes his head. "My office is in the boathouse. That's my home. I'm not leaving it." Alistair nods. She expected this. "I know," she says. "The company's headquarters can be wherever its heart is." The following week, a "for sale" sign goes up in front of Alistair's penthouse. 2 weeks after that, she buys a modest, cedar-shingled house on the water. It is a 10-minute walk from the marina, from the boathouse, from him. She does not pull him into her world of glass towers and corporate warfare. She joins him in his, a world of tides, patience, and tangible things. One afternoon he calls her down to the docks. He has finished his work on her father's yacht. The engine, the one he saved in the storm, has been fully rebuilt. The brightwork gleams. The teak decks are freshly oiled. It looks new, but it feels old. It feels alive with history. He holds something out to her. It is the boat's original brass nameplate, which had been tarnished and pitted. He has polished it to a brilliant shine. It reads, "The Alistair." "My mother's name," she says softly, tracing the letters with her finger. "I know," he says. She takes it from him. Her fingers brush against his for a long moment. It is a promise. A beginning. 6 months pass. The seasons turn. Finch and Vance Maritime thrives. It is a different company now. It has a soul. Their new motto, printed on their letterhead and etched into the glass of the lobby, is a quote from Elias's father. "A patient hand, not a new part." They are celebrated not for their speed, but for their integrity. The boathouse is no longer Asset 17. It is the company's official research and development center, a place where innovation is born from quiet, meticulous work. It is a warm Saturday in late spring. The sky is a perfect, cloudless blue. Alistair, Elias, and Lily are out on the water in the restored yacht. The engine hums a low, perfect rhythm beneath their feet. Lily is standing at the bow, her hair flying in the breeze, pointing out seabirds to Alistair. "That's a cormorant," she says with the authority of an expert. "And that's a tern. Daddy says they're the best flyers." Alistair laughs, a sound that is more frequent and easier now. She is wearing jeans and a simple sweater. The armor is gone, stored away in a closet she no longer opens. She looks at Elias, who is at the helm, a small, content smile on his face as he watches his daughter. He looks at peace. He looks home. They anchor in a quiet cove as the afternoon sun begins to dip toward the horizon, painting the water in hues of gold and rose. They eat sandwiches and drink lemonade from a thermos. It is simple. It is perfect. The three of them, a small, unlikely family, adrift in the calm. As dusk settles, they stand together on the deck, watching the first stars appear in the darkening sky. The harbor lights across the bay begin to flicker on, one by one. Lily is asleep below deck, tucked into a bunk, the carved gull resting on the pillow beside her. Alistair stands near Elias at the rail. They do not speak. They do not need to. The silence between them is no longer a space of conflict or uncertainty. It is a shared space, comfortable and full of unspoken understanding. He smells of salt and engine oil. She smells of the sea breeze. He does not tell her he is falling in love with her. She does not tell him she feels more at home on this old boat with him than she ever did in her glass tower. They just stand there, side by side, not touching, looking out at the vast, promising darkness. The future is a quiet hum, like a well-tuned engine waiting for a patient hand to guide it home.